Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kirby Russia. This is sort of part two of our interview with Russia's top immigration lawyer, Timur Beslangurov. In the first video, we talked took some questions from the audience, sort of a how-to about immigration, especially with some of the new laws that are making things easier or at least different. But Timur started to, towards the end of it, get into the mentality of a lot of the people who make these laws. And Timur's had the chance to kind of work with the actual lawmaking process. So first off, Timur, what are some of the things that I can always tell when I talk to you that really, frustrates you about the way Russian immigration works?
Well, number one is that Russian immigration laws are pretty much written in order to, I would say, balance the immigration that comes from the former Soviet Union republics. Yeah, and bulk of the laws, when you read them, they basically are trying to understand whether bring the immigration from, and they don't, because historically, nobody thinks, that foreigners, Americans are coming to Russia. Yeah, so
yeah, I know. Trust me, if anyone's heard that, but everyone wants to go to America. You're the only person who wants to come here. Ho, ho, ho. I've heard that a million times. Sorry. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, exactly, and that's why when I meet with somebody in the government, or it doesn't matter the level, they're all very, very surprised to hear that Americans would like to move to Russia, that Australians, Canadians would like to move to Russia, and for them it's very strange to hear. But when we start talking about serious things like, okay, let's change the laws, it's always a matter of how many, where, what they're gonna do, provide all the required information before they would even think of doing something. Yeah, and I always try to tell them that, listen, it's very hard to put people in one line, yeah, and kind of measure them and provide you with the whole picture, because that's not the way it works in the world. Yeah, in other countries it works a different way. You at first create a program, yeah, and try to make it very good, this program, and then people will come. Not the other way, where America was not asking, okay, guys, let's write an immigration program. Okay, let's have a questionnaire of how many potential immigrants would come to America. Yeah, and then they start asking everyone. This is not the way it works. But the Russian government, for whatever reason, is trying to do it like that way. Yeah, because there is a big group of Russian Germans that would like to move back to Russia. Russian Germans, as you know, there were several million of them residing from the Catherine the Great times and Soviet Union times, and many during the war were relocated to Kazakhstan. So many of them never had Russian citizenship. Yeah. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they flew to Germany, and now many want to come to Russia. And they would need immigration kind of paperwork and assistance. But whenever you speak with any officials, they say, okay, how many, what they're gonna be doing, what. So it's like not really a helpful process,
Yeah.
But we again, also when we speak, they're saying, okay, you need at first to prepare the public here in Russia, to bring this to the media. Yeah, so that there is awareness. So how do you normally change any law or create a law? At first, you pump it into the media, so that people start to speak about that. You make some reportages, you make some videos. So you announce that there is such a problem or such topic exists. Once you build it, once you build the public opinion, including those from the government, then that's how you change it. And well, we are trying here in Russia our best to create this topic, and that this topic is in the news. Yeah, so hopefully one day it will be more open, and our policy would be more open, and the government would understand that.
Now, why does it matter if something's in the news? Does that mean that public opinion is really important to these politicians, or why? Who cares? Why does it matter?
Well, because it's. I don't know the exact answer why. Maybe it's the way that the political technology works. Maybe it's just because that nobody will come up to this politician and say, "Why are you pushing this law through? Are you a corrupt guy? What's the interest behind pushing this law through?"
Oh.
So it has to be kind of publicly known what's going on. Yeah. So the Russian stakeholders, in this sense, is like the Russian people and the Russian government officials. They have to be kind of, how to say, they would need this media around it, yeah, in order to be. I mean, first of all, for them, it's good that if somebody speaks in the media. Yeah. Second, that it's. I mean, people understand why it's required. Yeah, because others already told the masses that there is immigration from America, many would like to come, and then you start doing actual work in changing the laws.
Now, the one thing, have you encountered some of this? There's sort of a weird mentality I've noticed that when there was, the Russian Revolution in the 1990s and a lot of Russians left, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it was awful, they stole all of our talented people and this and that. But then when you think that now that the West is in trouble and we could bring people here, they're always like, why do you want to bring people from there to here? They're just going to make Russia liberal. No. Have you encountered any of that attitude? I get that pretty often as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some stupid, strange, arrogant attitude, which from time to time, I hear, unfortunately, on different levels.
Yeah. Well, and
But those
one thing,
people are not smart.
could you tell us? I think the audience has probably noticed. I think overall, although I can speak very emotionally on camera, I'm actually a pretty calm person overall. But you're even more calm than I am, which is impressive. Has that come as having to go to the Sakharov Immigration Center so many times? Because I'm sure you've seen some crazy stuff, in terms of like dealing with these bureaucrats. Like basically, despite the fact that you're an esteemed immigration lawyer, they should know who you are. I think you mentioned to me that they still give you the same disrespect that they give to everyone else at Sakharov.
Yes, of course. No, in Sakharov already people know me. Pretty much. I mean, every immigration inspector, I already had some interaction when submitting the client's case to them. Yeah, so they know me. But initially, it's pretty hard because I'm always saying that in the United States there is an organization called AILA, American Immigration Lawyers Association, Immigration Lawyers Association, and they have, I think, 12,000 members. So 12,000 licensed immigration attorneys are members in this organization. Yeah, I actually was invited to join there as well, but unfortunately I cannot because in Russia we have like jurist, the lawyer, and then you have the advocate. Advocate is usually the guy that goes to the court. Like I am not an advocate, but I'm a lawyer by education. Yeah. So you don't need to be an advocate to practice law in Russia. Yeah, you need to be an advocate, and if you want and go to court to represent criminal cases, basically. Yeah. So for me, having the status of advocate is I don't need it.
Well, yeah, you're not going to court. Yeah.
Yeah, but you cannot join AILA, this American Immigration Law Association, unless you have this удостоверение, of advocate. But my point is the following: in Russia, the immigration authorities are not looking at you as an equal person, as even with any esteem or any kind of professionalism. And in my opinion, this is really bad because basically we, immigration lawyers, are helping them. Yeah, because when we do the paperwork, they kind of know that there pretty much won't be any mistakes or any issues. With the documents that we prepare, rather than if a person comes to them with the documents that are not prepared really good and they have to basically change everything, correct everything, and then the person comes again. Yeah, and sometimes people come. I mean, we had a client before becoming our client. They went to Sakharova 16 times to apply for temporary residency permit based on marriage. So you have the ground. You have the ground, but it's a matter of documents. So this is a big problem because, for example, immigration office, they also created a Moscow region one, like a united center for immigration, which is actually closer to Moscow than the Sakharova. They don't allow me to go there at all.
Well,
Like,
why?
so in order for me to go to Sakharova, client needs to do a notarized power of attorney. Yeah, so go to the Russian notary, sign the power of attorney, and they can represent the client. And I am perfectly allowed to go with that power of attorney to Sakharova. But in this immigration center in the Moscow region, they just say, no, we don't care. Russians are not allowed. Only foreigners can come. I say, well, I have a notarized power of attorney. They say, well, we don't care. I say, well, we live in one country, and with the power of attorney, I can go anywhere and represent the client. No, I say, well, if the client doesn't speak Russian, well, he should speak Russian if he is applying for, say, temporary or residency. I say, well, he passed the test, but this doesn't mean that he speaks Russian.
Well, yeah, but the test is very different from being able to fill out the заявление, which is what, like a declaration or whatever. Like basically the paperwork that you file is written in university level Russian. Like for an adult who went through a university.
It's not also about that. It's more of we can prepare the documents. The client will go on his own to the Moscow immigration center until we resolve this issue on a higher level, because I think this is like really a strange situation that in one place you can go and in another place you cannot. But it's just a matter of being able even to communicate to these people, because they don't speak English, obviously, and if your Russian is not that good, you just may not even understand what they want from you if there is any issues.
Well, yeah, there can be some really nuanced answers to these to the questions they have, So
yeah. And the questions, they don't ask questions based on the ground. So Russian immigration is different from the immigration in other countries. Nobody interrogates you about your ground, whether you're a legal, illegal immigrant, whether your marriage is fake or not fake. They just look in the documents. And if in the documents they find something, they will ask you or will say, and if you don't know what to reply, because it's all in Russian, how are you going to succeed with making this application? So the problem is there. Russian immigration lawyers are not being looked at as somebody that is important to the country. Well, and that's an indirect reflection of the whole immigration policy. Just because that Russian immigration is not at the level where it has to be, policy wise.
And what does it need to look like?
Like in the Western countries, where a country understands, Russia has to understand that many countries historically have been able to, to succeed to a certain extent, and it's due to immigration, due to quality immigration. And Russia has understand, and I think right now is the time for authorities to start creating proper immigration programs.
And now one thing, I guess, again, with dealing with these people, this is sort of a question might be important to the audience is, when I think I did my 2 permanent residencies, and even once recently when we were in a sort of border zone, even though I have citizenship, I had to talk to someone with the FSB. Now, do you happen to know, what are these conversations, like, what are they looking for? When these FSB guys, like, talk to you, you file for permanent residency, and then some guy from state security wants to have a chit chat for you. What kind of questions what kind of information are they trying to get, or what's the strategy of talking to them? Like,
it doesn't happen always. Normally, not normally, but if it happens, usually it happens in the kind of in the regions. So in Moscow, not a single of my client in Moscow was ever asked by the FSB guys about any questions. Because in Moscow,
I was special.
Maybe. So in Moscow we didn't have such cases, but I've been present on one time when the client was in the region, and we came to submit the papers, and we were told, okay, listen, let's go to this room. Our colleagues will speak to you. Of course, they didn't introduce themselves, where they are from, but they were very, very nice, kind, how you call it? So the conversation lasted for about an hour,
Yeah.
but they were very, very, how you probably say it, polite. Yeah, they were very polite. They were asking so many different questions, like, okay, why you want to come to Russia? What have you been doing in your home country? What your cousins, I don't know, sisters, brothers, father, like all your relatives, what they do back in the country, yeah? What are your plans in doing in Russia? Okay, you are an IT specialist. What type IT specialist? What are your specialization? What
Mm-hmm.
they ask all bunch of questions, which from sometimes you just don't understand why are they asking, but kind of they have their knowledge on why they are asking those questions.
Maybe it's one of those
Uh,
things where they're just trying to ask you so many questions that they can sort of feel overall that it becomes this cohesive picture, and if you're lying or not or something, I don't know. So,
well, I mean, this particular case was really really interesting because they asked a question to this gentleman. They said, "Listen, what are your kids planning to do in Russia?" And he says, "Well, studying or this and this." And then, I mean, it doesn't matter what he replied, but basically, this guy says, "Well, probably they will not be running on the rooftops of the garages, yeah."
yeah.
And and the client, I mean, his hair, you could see his hair on his head went up, and he was like so astonished by this comment. And once it's all over, I said, "What happened with that particular thing?" He says, "I just was so amazed that uh, he made this comment." He said, "Because about, I don't know, 5 years ago, back in the United States, some neighbors called to the police because my kids were running on the rooftop of the garage of my garage, yeah,
Oh,
for a barn." And he says, "I was astonished that they knew because it's not something, it's not a criminal record, it's not an offense, it's nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just police came,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
and they knew
also,
it."
and I think that that's not just a coincidence there because the one of the reasons that Russia's doing fairly well with this whole war in Ukraine, especially when they are even outnumbered in the initial first half of first year, is because Russian intelligence is very good. So the last time when I had my second permanent residency, in a lot of ways, I was talking to this guy from the FSB. I almost wanted to tell him just like, I work in the media. You know exactly who I am. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it was just kind of like why even talk to me? You know what's going on. Just open up VK. You already know everything I think. Sense and feel. The more weird one was having to do again this, despite having citizenship because I have a weird background. When we were in Chukotka filming, so like the very closest part of Russia to Alaska, they had a lot of questions, and it did get into this sort of stuff like, what did your father do for a living? Like, okay, that was one of them. So,
Yeah,
I
in
don't.
the regions they ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, Timur, that was pretty insightful, pretty interesting. Thank you very much for sticking around. Any other final philosophical words about immigration before we hit the road?
Well, I just hope that, yeah, one day we'll be able uh, to bring back the not bring back, but to bring the immigration that we need, the people that we need for this country to, I mean, develop and prosper. Because we have the demographic problem. Yeah,
No.
so the population is declining for sure. So we need it.
Oh yeah. Well, we're working on that, and sometimes together. All right. Take care, man. All the best.